Good day, guys. Good afternoon. I hope we're all good. So today we're going to do a quick forecast of this week and just checking on the price action for the month of September as well. So some of the things we're going to be speaking of, we're going to be touching on BTMM concepts. We're going to be touching on EMAs, which are the moving averages you see on my charts. We are also going to touch on peaks. This is all under BTMM Concepts by Steve Mauro. We're also going to touch on the importance of the 13 EMA, the importance of the 1350 cross, especially on the 1 hour time frame, and how we use the 50 EMA and the 200 EMA for entries and for targets. We are also going to touch a bit on ICT concepts, whereby we'll mainly be focusing on the previous day's high, previous day's low, previous week's high, previous week's low. We're also going to be putting emphasis on the session highs and lows and liquidity sweeps. Last but not least, we're going to touch on SMT divergence, which is also part of ICT concepts. And we are going to be looking at NASDAQ and US 500. And we're also going to be looking at GBP USD and Euro USD. So just to sum everything up, it will just be price action, but you hear me speak on terms which I mentioned on the above concepts. And for an example, on SMT divergence, you guys can just watch until the end. So to quickly get started, I'm just going to explain a quick focus on my watch list, which consists of US 30 on the bottom left of your screen. Okay, we're going to look at US 30. We're going to look at US tech. So each time we look at NASDAQ, it will be in line with US 500 for that SMT divergence. And each time we look at GBP USD, it will also be in line with EU for that SMT divergence as well. Then to add on to our watch list, we're going to look at German 40 and gold as well. So without wasting much time, we're going to start off with US 30 and all charts we are starting on the daily just to get a feel of the bias or the trend for the month of September. So for US 30 on the daily, we haven't had much of a move except I think this was Wednesday last week, whereby we had this huge candle expanding. So we are using our 13 EMA to sort of give us the directional bias. So each time we're trading above the 13, we are mainly looking for bullish moves unless price is a bit far, whereby we'll be looking for the retracement. But again, this all depends with the market structure. So if we are in an uptrend, we are mainly looking for buys as long as price is above the 13. Then if price is a bit far, we can trade the retracement back into the 13 EMA. So looking at US 30 for the month of September, currently price is going sideways and it looks like we are in that retracement. So what are my main points of interest for this week? So if you notice, my main point of interest is basically this order block or this candle you see here, or that demand zone. So if price retraces back into that area, I'm looking for potential buys. I'm also looking at the 13 EMA, and if we drop to the 4 hour chart, that's where you see my points of interest. So we've got this high from the week before last, and we've got this level here. So after this break, I'm looking for something like a retest if we are going to go up. So my main points of interest from today, going into the next few days, if price can come back into this area, that's my point of interest for a buy. Same applies if we drop down as low as that gray zone which you saw on the daily. And if I'm going to consider any shorts or any sells, I'm looking for a liquidity sweep of this area. So if price sweeps liquidity here, I can consider taking a short-term sell as well. So for now, I'd say those are my points of interest. Also visible from H1 is that buy side liquidity. This is internal liquidity. And this was also the PM session on Friday's high, which is just above the current London. So if we come up here like this, then I can look for a sell coming back to this point of interest. But if we also come up and stay above that level, I might consider taking a long coming back to Friday's highs. So that's my approach on US 30 today. And I'm just going to leave it on the H1 chart and check it out at New York session. Next in line is Nasdaq. So I think Nasdaq and S&P 500, I'll explain them in the end when we touch on SMT divergence. So quickly going to German 40. German 40 for the month of September. My main point of interest is basically this high and this low here. So for the month of September, we didn't really get any big moves or any trend. You can see prices going sideways. So what I would love to do is to potentially look for a possible sell trade. Why am I looking for a sell here? I'm looking at this external sell side liquidity and external buy side liquidity. So from this high, I feel like price has already done what it needed to do, and we can most likely trade back into 23,000 or at least this internal sell side liquidity. So if I'm going to take a sell targeting those areas, what I'm going to want to see first is price taking out this buy side liquidity right here, or interact with this high, which was set at the beginning of the month. So if price can get to those areas, I think I'll be confident to take a trade. At this point, I don't have anything going on. This is the daily buy side liquidity, and this is the point of interest. So if price can give me something here, I can take a sell. If price comes a little bit higher, gives me something there, I can also take a sell. I will only start going long if this price gives me something like that. So for now, these are my major points of interest, and I'll just be stalking to see if we can be able to get a trade. Going on to gold. Gold, the past 5 days, price also has been consolidating. Although the month has been strong bullish, starting from August, you can see we had a like 2-3 weeks of a bullish momentum. Then for now, price is going sideways. So what are my points of interest here? I'm paying attention to the 13 EMA and the 3,600 point price point. I'm also paying attention to the current all-time highs, and price can still push up and set a new all-time high as well, which means I'm paying attention to 3,700. So if I'm going to take a trade, I still want price to come outside this consolidation before I consider doing anything. So for now, I think that's it. I don't have any immediate trade which I might take here. I'd rather wait maybe for today to close, then maybe look at it Tuesday, Wednesday, going into Thursday. Then looking at GU, EU, and Nasdaq and S&P 500, we're going to check SMT divergence. So we're just going to minimize the other charts which we don't need. Okay, we're going to start with Nasdaq. So Nasdaq again on the daily, we've been bullish. As you see, same applies to S&P 500. We've been bullish. So if I'm going to take a trade, what am I looking for? So if we come down to H4, we see price looks like they want to push up on S&P 500, and to our left, it's more or less the same thing. Looks like they want to continue pushing up. But what I was seeing earlier, though, I'm going to highlight this. I saw this divergence here. So we've got Nasdaq creating higher highs on the H1, and we have got S&P 500 creating a lower high to our right. Right, you see here we've got a low high. So for me, that's a sign of an SMT divergence. So what I was looking for is a possibility of a sell. So going into New York session, I would say that's my main point of interest, just seeing how this SMT divergence plays out. So if I happen to get a sell pattern, I'll actually take it because it's supported by that SMT divergence on H1. For now, I'd say that's my view I don't necessarily want to take a buy for now because price can still retrace, especially after this push up which has been happening. So price might want to retrace, but if I'm going to trade, if I don't see anything following up with the SMT divergence, then I'm going to trade it maybe tomorrow or Wednesday. So for now, I'll leave these two on the H1 and I'll just keep track to see what price gives me. So again, maybe if I'm going to take longs again, I'd love to see any form of SMT divergence lining up with anything showing a buying bias. If it happens like that, then I might take the buy. But if I don't see any SMT divergence on these two assets, then chances are I might not take a trade today. So closing up with GU and EU. Okay, let's just put those charts here. Okay, same applies to GU and EU. If we look at them from the daily charts, we can also agree that this month we haven't had much volume on EU, but GU has been sort of pushing and we're trading above the 13 on both, which gives us a buying bias starting off this week. What I also have, if you look to my right, I've got this high and this low, which gives me a dealing range. We had a liquidity sweep here. And from there, price pushed up, which gives me the impression that price still wants to come back up to this buy side liquidity or this one. So that confirms bullish bias. We also have a pin bar on the 13, also confirming a bullish bias. Same applies to GU. Two pin bars above the 13. We've also broken above these equal highs. So if we can get something like this, that could also be a good trade to take if we are taking longs, but I'll mainly look for executions on GU. Then jumping down to M15, I think there was actually a setup which appeared earlier. Let me just check. All right, so if you look at these charts from M15, what you see that on our left, EU created a higher low. So from the open of today's price action, we had this higher low, price pushed up, retrace, created another higher low, right? Then if you look to our right on EU, price opened, pushed up, then created a lower low. So that's in itself is a SMT divergence. So those who were trading London session, I'm assuming you guys managed to catch this trade. We also had a nice bounce off the 200 EMA as well, and this liquidity sweep. So again, if you're executing SMT divergence, I think the best setups are the ones whereby you are able to identify the liquidity sweep. So the best of these two in the morning was going to be EU. So remember these things, they happen at the same time. And if you're trading within the sessions, let's say you're trading London session, by the time London session opens, you can see the divergence was already there. So if you understand what you're looking for, it becomes a little bit easier to come up with the setups and the entries as well. So EU continued to give us a break of yesterday's high and a retest right on the 13, which was also a confirmation. So if you did not enter immediately, this was going to be a perfect entry, which is also one of our signature trades, which is like a break retest or a zone flip trade. On our GU, this was the previous day's high, so more or less the same break and retest, bouncing off the 200 EMA as well in the 50. An order block here, getting a breaker, price pushing up, retracing, and price eventually playing out. So these two setups, I already missed them. But if price continues to push up and we get a reason to buy, let's say New York session, I'm going to consider a trade. So again, I'll be looking for SMT divergence. Let's say they do this here and they do this here. See, if we get something like this on these two, that'll be a divergence setup, SMT divergence. So I'll still be able to take longs or buys on GBP or EU, depending with which one shows the better setup. So I think that's all from me today. Most of the things I mentioned at the beginning of the video, they need like separate videos on their own or separate sessions on their own in case you don't understand the terms. So for anyone who wants better clarification, you can just join our Telegram channel and you get better assistance from there. So if you've got any different views from mine, please do share in the comment section. Let me know what you're seeing and how you're going to approach this week on the assets which I just mentioned. So that's all from me today. If you watched until the end, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good trading.